All right, hello guys. My name is Latrice Hall. I am a sophomore at Bethune-Cookman University, majoring in psychology with a minor of health and exercise science. And today my speech is an informative speech, and I'll be talking about cloning. So is cloning actual real, or is it a made-up situation? Well, you see it on movies and TV shows all the time, like, you know, characters cloning and everything, like when they make identical twins or they make 3 or 4 or 5 of them. However, cloning is a real thing. So it may seem futuristic, but cloning is the process of taking genetic information from one living thing and creating identical copies of it. Meaning, let's say you get the DNA of a starfish. You can just clone that by, a lot of scientists do type of like genetics experience to it while they clone it and make it into 2, 3, or 4. So I know about cloning, I'm not that old, I'm only 20 years old, so I never really learned about cloning, never really done anything with cloning, but I just know that you can make copies of one thing. And so, for an example, it would be like, you know, I see a show where they wanted to make one character again by creating that one character, making it go through some type of experiment, and they like put it through this machine where it steamed and everything. It was just a crazy whole thing that happened with it. At end of the day, the clone ended up being, you know, something else. So that's one thing to do. So how does it really work? How does cloning really go down? So there's 3 different types of cloning. One is genetic cloning, which is also known as DNA cloning. So that creates copies of the genes. The second one is reproductive cloning, which you're going to duplicate animals. You see very common in like the field work. The third one is therapeutic cloning, which creates stem cells that is used to create tissues that can repair or replace damages of the tissues. So that's very important when there's something wrong with that animal or other species. You know, you want to clone it to make sure you're not hurting its population. When did cloning start? So the history of cloning. I'm just gonna give you a quick rundown of what cloning was and like how it started really. So it started from a German scientist. His name was Hans Adolf Edward Derisch. He researched reproduction, and he was able to create a set of twin salamanders. I wish I could show you all a picture of what the 2 salamanders look like, but you know, when you see a lot of animals out in the world, it didn't seem like as if you know, those animals could be cloned. But a lot of the time when the population they're going extinct, or if they are starting to, you know, become endangered, a lot of the animals are cloned to, you know, try to build up that type of species. So that's one thing that's very important about cloning. Cloning isn't a very, you know, popular topic talked about among a lot of young students, I say, in university. So when you really talk about cloning, it's something that you go really in depth with. So like, for an example, would be definitely with, you don't really see it commonly with human beings. I should say, like, humans don't really have been cloned, I should say. So the one thing that I know about cloning with humans is that, you know, they start with babies doing it first. So, you know, they'll have 2 sets of, or one set of a kid, you know, they will clone their DNA by doing that first when it's in the mother's stomach, of course. So when it starts with, you know, beginning to clone it to make it double. So like, you know, you go to the DNA, you want to go to the genetics, you want to start there. I wouldn't say it's the same thing as twins, but it's kind of in the similar area topic of it. So we can begin with starting to talk about, you know, babies. You know, babies they're going to be the first thing that you want to clone. Like, you're not going to start off with grown human beings. So once we get into that, that won't be until years from now. I'm talking about hundreds to like 200, maybe 300 years, even 500 years. So let's say, for an example, we have, you know, one person, you know, they're a grown person, they're 20 years old. Let's say they're a male figure, they are 6'5". They're going to go into a lab where scientists are going to examine their body type to see how tall they are, to see how tall they are. They're gonna see how, you know, big, let's say like muscular wise, their mass. So we're gonna start off with putting that human being into a machine. That machine is gonna close up. It's going to create every piece of aspect of that body part they have on that human being. It's going to go through a machine where they can make sure everything is identical. They're going to pick through each part of it where they will be able to pick out exactly what they want to fix up and what they want to clone. So let's begin with an example of how this experiment will start. Once that human being is out of their machine that they go into, they're going to create another person, the exact same person. That person is going to have the same brown hair as that individual, dark skin, and all that as well. So once they come out, they're going to look exactly the same, side by side, and boom, there you have it, 2 clones. Now it may seem very confusing, and it may seem as if you know, that it's an impossible task, which it may be super difficult, but a lot of scientists, you know, can do it as well. So, but just ending off with my my speech, we're gonna have just the rundown of how everything I talked about. So the one we talked about, how cloning works, how there's 3 different types, and then we're also going to talk about the history, you know, of who started and how. A lot of people started off with, there's the main goat, the Holly goat. That Holly goat, that's the one goat that they first started to try a bigger, like a way bigger, you know, species to start to clone. So, yeah, that's just some examples of what you can see what cloning is. So, thank you guys for listening, and have a great night. Thank you.